Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of our podcast series on women and Hinduism. I'm thrilled to have the amazing Guru Pashupati with me. I will tell you shortly why he's amazing. Welcome, Guru Pashupati.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you. Namaste.
yeah, Namaste. Truly thrilled to have you here. Have been listening to your videos now for a whole month and been thoroughly impressed. I want to introduce you first, given the bio that you've given us. So, Guru Pashupati, commonly known as Ashwin Chekava, is the co-founder of Chamundi Gurukulam and directs all the courses and programs there. His unique circumstances and life experiences molded him into a true guru, one who has lived the most painful and devastating life experiences and learned from it. It is this vast experience that has taught him to handle the massive responsibility of being the Parampara Adhikari of Trilok Akhada, a very ancient Akhada established by Shankarnath, the founder of yoga 17,000 years ago. So I have watched your She Said No podcast and the Kannada one, Nanu Mattu Devaru, and then the Divine Feminine series. I haven't finished it yet, but that one, the Bhagavad Gita podcast, the one on Yoga Sutra, the Devi Mahatmya commentary, and the one on Karma, and the one on Mantra, and many 1.5 hour long videos. I've lost count now, and I enjoyed them all thoroughly. So I usually invite just scholars in the field of academics, professors in the field of social sciences, religious studies, and Hinduism studies, and so on. But when I listened to you, I felt like I must break this mold and change the direction a little bit to include a practitioner like you. And Indica itself is a diverse kind of community we have within us: scholars, practitioners, scholar practitioners, and so on. And there are a lot of things that I loved about your work. It's inspiring, it's clarifying. You speak to youngsters, and you speak about Sanatana Dharma for today, and that to me is very, very precious, because at Indica we also focus on this kind of thing. So I see a lot of convergences between the work that Indica has done and what you have been doing. For instance, I think we both agree that our education system needs to be rectified in some way. And Indica sees itself as a university, and our whole project is also to decolonize the education system. And you've been calling the education system the Thames Nadi education. So so we kind of meet there. We have common ground, and we also do realize at Indica that knowledges of certain kind had to be kept secret, because of certain reasons. And so we don't vilify Brahmins like majority of mainstream scholarship in the social sciences do.
Mm.
So we are keenly aware that the Hindu ethics we find in our texts and traditions is distinct from Christian morality, which has taken hold in a big, big way today. And so when you in your videos were saying good or bad depends on your own goal, that again, resonated with me so much. And so the questions I have for you today are not really from a skeptic's perspective. I have my own spiritual experiences, so I'm not coming to you from there. But I still want to know the God's eye view perspective, if you like. How does God perceive us, or what actions does He view as fruitful, as counting for punya, and so on. So occasionally I might play the devil's advocate, but I'm truly someone who's also in the same boat, as it were. So Indica members are also very aware that we are stuck with Victorian mores, especially when it comes to sexuality, and we want to reinvent the wheel. We want to change how we talk about it, how we experience it, and so on. But I think we have a multiplicity of viewpoints within Indica. Some of us take the Dharmashastric route, and we stick to that, Ekapatni Vrata kind of, very strict self-control mode. And some others here are affiliated to Tantra. So we have a diverse set of views, but we generally do acknowledge that karma is something that we must talk about. It is one of the Purushasthas, and we cannot suppress it the way it has happened in the last 100 years. So so the importance of desire is something that we also would like to acknowledge at Indica. We had an entire conference on sexuality where we invited transgender, um, um, those with transgender identities, and they shared with us how they view Devi's role in how these identities come to them and how they feel what they're feeling and so on. So in this way, Indica has tried to change the narrative in its own way. And so today's conversation is going to be a little bit on gender. Therefore, it will touch upon these issues. Some of your views might be controversial for our viewers. So I just want to say that this is a very mature conversation, and I'd like my audience to remember that at all times. So when I first came across you and you speak about all these past relationships, you reminded me of Allama Prabhu, the Bhakti saint. I'm sure you know of him. And he too suffered from what we call love failure, and turned yogi. So it was kind of very reminiscent for me, and it rang through all the experiences, the pain that you were talking about, and how you have overcome them through so many kriyas. It was just amazing. So the thing that we want to resist at Indica is that a lot of Hindus get defensive when we start critiquing the way Indian families are today. And they talk as if this is happening somewhere else, not in our family, and we are all good people and so on. But that's not the culture that we want to succumb to. We want to listen to young women, obviously, and you have been doing that. So that's the reason why we are completely in awe of what you have done. So we want to tell our parental generation that you're not exactly following Sanatana Dharma. Some of it is just Victorian sexuality and so on, but the dialogue is very hard. It's not easy. And at the same time, we don't want to shock, the parental generation like Wendy Doniger does by, throwing the Kama Sutra in your face again and again. That's not what we want to do. We want to be empathetic to the older generation and to the younger generation, accommodating both of them. And so that there's space for dialogue, for mending relationships, and so on. So this is my little, start. Just one last point. I love that among all modern gurus, all contemporary gurus, you are the one who is talking so honestly about all the difficult issues when it comes to gender, whether it be within marriage, or sexual harassment on the streets and so on. And I say this because Sadhguru had several opportunities. I mean, he has done a lot for us through yoga and so on. He has given us amazing things. And yet he hasn't spoken about exploitative marriages the way he should be. And he hasn't addressed marital rape, according to me, of course, in the way he could have. He had such a big chance, and I don't think he was vocal enough to say that marital rape is rape too. And so, that leaves so much to be done. And we do have resources in Hindu texts to do this. So, because we have texts like the Arthashastra, which knows of rape, which has punishment for rape, and so on. So, it was not impossible to do, and yet somehow it hasn't been done. The other thing I appreciate about your work is that you have a critique of modern science. You engaged with it, and many yogis in the past too have engaged with it, and you use evidence-backed, you give us an evidence-backed yoga, and you use modern scientific tools and technology to make yoga better, or at least offer justifications as to why we should be doing this and so on, which is not always there in many gurus of our times. So with this, I start off with my questions. I want to give you a moment. Would you like to respond in some ways to the things that I've said so far?
No, I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation, and I have also been waiting for this episode. So
Yeah.
get on with it.
Amazing. So, some of the questions I have are my own, and some of them are just what women of my milieu want to ask
Oh,
of gurus like you. They want to ask this of Hinduism also. I begin by asking, are women eligible for moksha in the different philosophical schools that you're familiar with? And you're familiar with so many different ones, right?
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the difference of these different schools. What is the difference? And in each of them, do women have the eligibility to proceed towards moksha?
Okay. Let me give you a little background. My guru asked me to study the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Upanishads. And he said that's enough. So that's all I have studied. I don't know anything outside of that. Okay. So anyway, with what I know, moksha itself has been misinterpreted and misunderstood. It is freedom from the cycle of birth and death. That is what moksha is, and it's clearly defined. But
Mhm,
how do you get that freedom? Not when you're dead. You get that freedom when you're alive.
mhm,
Because look, if you die, you're just a jiva. You're an attributeless being, and then we feel very bored. What to do? So then we take on attributes. And
mhm,
when we take on attributes, we create our own life. My guru said, every leaf of every tree is created by you.
mhm,
You may not know it and you may not accept it, but that's the truth. So when I started to realize that, I started to get siddhis, that
mhm,
everything that is there, that exists, it has become a liquid reality for me. It's not solid like how it is for most people.
mhm,
And then it's very easy for me to repair my body faster than it gets damaged because I am very sensitive. There are three sets of senses. The
mhm,
uh, stula senses, which we can sense outside: sound, smell, taste, etc. Commonly known as the five senses, but is much more than that. Because in the big heading of feeling, there is also sensing electromagnetism, there is sensing gravity, there is sensing balance, proprioception, so many other senses we have. If you look at the Wikipedia article on senses, there may be about 25 senses. But these are all external senses and these are pointed outwards. But there are also neurons inside which bring us information. And that is called sukshma or subtle senses. And that is how you sense your internal organs. You can know
mhm,
if you have a cancer, you can know if you have kidney stones, you can know whatever is going on with your liver. You can know that if you only bother to develop these senses. And so that's your internal senses. And then there's the senses which is neither internal nor external, but which senses divinity, energy, beings of other dimensions, interdimensional senses. So you've got in this dimension, you have two sets of senses, gross and subtle, and then you have interdimensional senses.
mhm,
So through these senses, it's possible for you to know what is the condition of your body after the end of a day's work. And then you can do something to heal it, where when you go to sleep and wake up the next day, you would have
mhm,
repaired everything that you damaged. This is moksha. This is
mhm,
immortality. And only humans are eligible for it. Animals are not capable of this kind of interdimensional sensing like the way that
mhm,
we can do. And even their internal sensing is not as great as we can do. Strange as that may seem, we seem to think of animals as having more, being more in tune with their instincts, but their senses are very limited. They can't sense. An ant can't see like how we see. A cat can't see like how we see.
mhm,
And the stuff that we can internally sense inside in terms of feelings, the range of emotions, animals can't have this. So that is why humans, whether male, female, transgender, whatever, are eligible for moksha.
mhm.
That's the
Okay.
reason.
All right. Before I go to my next question, it's interesting when you said that we get bored and we want to, come back and take bodies, and that's very, very like the Purusha myth, right? That he wanted to split into two. He wanted to become
Hmm.
something. The Purusha
Hmm.
Sukta myth in the Purusha. It occurs in many, many other texts. In the creation
Even
myth,
in the Yoga
right?
Sutra, we call it Ishvara.
Mm-hmm.
In the Yoga Sutra, it's called Ishvara. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's a whim that the Purusha has, that he wants to become many. He's one, but he wants to become many, and so on. So that's interesting. But what about this sense of perceiving other dimensional beings? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
There are definitely more dimensions than length, breadth, width, and time.
Hmm.
There are more.
Yeah.
And when we start perceiving beings through those dimensions, we also
Hmm.
grow. We grow our presence in those dimensions. And there are said to be 14 dimensions.
Hmm.
Earth is just one of them. These are called lokas and talas. So there are
Hmm.
7 lokas, 7 talas, and we can
Hmm.
perceive whatever we want from it. And a lot of people do interdimensional perception. Okay,
Hmm.
they perceive misery. Misery is from one of the talas.
No.
Uh,
From
you
the
know,
Pitralokas, possibly.
yeah, not the lokas. The lokas don't have such emotions like misery. They have the heroic emotions, which were put down by Bharata as the rasas.
Hmm.
The nav rasas are the heroic or the
Okay.
divine emotions. You can call it divine emotions.
Mhm.
So those are the 9 ones.
All right. So if so the kind of bodies women have, that's not an obstacle to moksha, to
No, because
so the.
energetically, everyone
Mhm.
has the same chakras, everybody has the
Mhm.
same adharas, everybody
Mhm.
has the same vyomas,
Mhm.
everybody has the same lakshyas. So
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
This
but
is
see
I
in.
know, I'm aware where you're coming from because there has been a lot of misinterpretation of so many
Mhm.
textbooks, and I'm trying to rectify that. Uh,
Mhm.
Chief among them is Manusmriti, where everybody jumps on it without understanding what he's saying. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's a more detailed conversation, and I'll do it on my channel once I'm
Okay.
done with the Yoga Sutra, because the Yoga Sutra itself has been misinterpreted so bad.
Yeah, sure. So the reason why, and you know why I'm asking this, because in yoga, the whole idea is that semen is retained, not ejaculated, and then it's taken up and so on. You talk about this in so many videos. And then,
Not the
but for
semen. The
women,
semen directly can't be taken up. It's the energy that is there in the semen that is transferred to the various organs of the body.
ah, so because women don't have anything similar to the semen,
They
I
do.
was wondering if
They
we
have
have different
ovaries.
bodies. Okay,
They
okay.
have
So it's
sperm
just
gland.
the.
They have both. Women have both. It's not called semen, but
Mhm.
there are vaginal fluids. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
And
yeah, sure.
all of them, they act differently because the seed is not in that. The seed is
Mhm.
inside your uterus. It never leaves your uterus, but it leaves your uterus once you have your period. So
Mhm.
at that time, if you haven't harvested the energy from the ovary, then you lose that energy.
All right. Okay. So what's this whole thing about menstruation and don't go into the puja room and so on? Is it related to what you've just said, that that
Menstruation, what?
most
I'm sorry.
don't go into the puja room, and the whole restriction around
Yeah,
menstruation?
that's a misinterpretation, that, that it's dirty.
Mm.
And later, some people, even in Sanskrit, they started calling it dirt.
Mhm.
It's not dirt. Menstruation is
Mm.
not dirt. It's considered the most holy liquid.
Mm. For
Yeah.
tantra, but
It,
what about for other traditions?
uh, there is no, there is not many diverse traditions. The whole of Hinduism is one thing. So if you
Mhm.
start not understanding it, if you understand it like this is a different tradition, different point of view, many different
Mm.
people came together to give it. It's not really like that,
Uh-huh.
because what was given to us as Sanatan Dharma is a gift from
Mhm.
Vyasa mostly,
Mhm.
and it's the Vedas.
Yeah.
So I don't see any of this in the Vedas. It's
Mhm.
not there.
True.
It's all in the later textbooks and people's in misinterpretations that it all comes about, and it's a really a power struggle. Okay,
Mhm.
between male and female energy
Mhm.
that shouldn't exist in the first place. Why should the male feel threatened by a female energy?
Oh,
Because the
okay.
female energy is not here to harm him. The
Uh-huh.
female energy is here to work with him. So no man should feel threatened. And
Yeah.
because of this extreme feeling of threat, then people have seen that women have a lot of capabilities and a lot of energy,
Mm-hmm.
but they refused to educate women. That's the first discrimination that was done. They didn't teach
Mm-hmm.
them the Vedas, they didn't do the Yagnopavita for
Yeah.
women. That's
Yeah.
not correct.
Yeah. It used to be there. I'm told that it used to be there, that women were
Of course
allowed
it
at
used
one
to be
point of
there.
time.
Of course it used to be
Mm.
there. This is a recent
Mm.
turn of events when people
True.
got very threatened by the power of women.
Mm. Mm.
And so women are not taught to exercise, they're not taught to be powerful physically.
Mm.
They're
That's true.
not expected of them to do any kind of heavy physical work.
Mm.
And so because of that, women lose that physical prowess. And their ability, physical ability is like children.
Mm. True.
You can't even lift your own suitcases sometimes.
Mm.
So that's not right. That's not how we should have trained women.
Yeah. So the Gayatri Mantra is something that you would
Gayatri herself is a female, and then you're saying Gayatri Mantra can't be given to women. This is the irony of it.
true. But I thought there were reasons for this because the Gayatri gives a lot of Vairagya, and we don't want women to get Vairagya
Why
and that
not?
kind of
Why not?
justification.
What is
Because
Vairagya?
because
Freedom from
for
raga,
women,
everybody needs, no?
hmm,
Raga is all these negative emotions that we have. Everyone requires that. People don't know the
hmm,
meaning of what they're saying. They think
hmm,
Vairagya is leaving their home and going. Go where?
hmm.
Go to the forest and get eaten.
Yeah.
Vairagya is here now. Vairagya
Okay.
is not having negative emotions. Vairagya
Hmm,
is considering your mind a temple of God and not
mhm,
having anything dirty inside there. Keep it
mhm.
clean. That's Vairagya. And everybody's deserving of it, men and women.
Yeah. All right. So you were redefining many things, and that's interesting. So,
I
did
have
you at
not seen
some
a
point?
single woman chanting Gayatri Mantra wanting to go to the forest. She's used that power to manifest amazing things in her life. All my
Hmm.
students to whom I teach the Gayatri Mantra, nothing
Mm-hmm.
bad has happened to them. That all these doomsdayers are saying will happen when a woman chants Gayatri Mantra. What will happen? God
Yeah,
is
yeah.
pleased with her
Maybe
as well.
maybe the earlier yugas were so pure that the chanting of the Gayatri had that kind of power that could make even women. But because in those times, as well as now, the preferred path for women is Sri Dharma, right? Right, because and that makes
Preferred
sense
path is,
in
I'm sorry,
some
what?
ways. The preferred path is Sri Dharma, that
Sri Dharma.
she remain within the institution of marriage, and do her duties within that, and that itself will accrue to her the same results that even a sannyasi might,
Depends
because
on
you
your
have this.
ashrama, no? Why can't women be also having four ashramas? If the woman is
No,
a
they
brahmachari,
can.
brahmacharini,
Yes.
then she
Mhm.
doesn't have to follow the so-called Sri Dharma. That is
Agree.
recommended for grihasthas.
Yeah.
It is
No,
not
agree.
for all women.
Maybe, yeah. No, I totally agree with you that all ashramas should be open for women as well. Why should we, restrict them to one or another? But I think through historical times, it has been such that it was not safe, perhaps at one point of time, for women to go into sannyasa, unless unless they weren't able to marry. And we have many stories of women in the Mahabharata who weren't able to marry and therefore entered asceticism and so on. So maybe that's one way to
Do you know
think
when
about.
women need protection? When they're on their
Hmm.
period.
Uh-huh.
That's the only time. And that can be done by other women, it can be done by men, it can be done by anybody. Other
Yeah.
women who are not on their period can protect a woman who's on a period. I'm saying if you're living in the jungle.
Hmm.
So every
Yeah.
woman had to be a warrior. All of our
Hmm.
ancestors lived in the jungle, so all of them were warriors. They had to fight wild animals, whether man or woman. A wild animal doesn't say, "Okay, you're a woman, I'll let you go." You
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
capable to engage with it. So it's a
Hmm.
shame to our ancestors that we treat women like this.
Yeah.
Women
Yeah.
are
So
incapable of
that's probably
violence.
why that isolation even came into being, right? That
Mm.
it probably came
You know,
from an
Dawood
earlier era.
Ibrahim, that
Mm-hmm.
gangster, he would go to people in Bombay, rich people, and tell them,
Mm-hmm.
"Give me protection money." And they say, "Protect from what? From me." This is how we are protecting women, no? What are we
Hmm.
protecting women from? From men. Who's
True.
protecting men?
That's
Men
right.
are
Yeah.
protecting from men.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make
That's
sense?
right. Yeah, doesn't make sense. I agree. But it's interesting. You mentioned how we were all living in forests at one point of time, and women who were menstruating needed to be protected. So that's probably where that whole isolation and confining to one place probably emerged from, and then through times we probably retained those practices without really knowing that that might have been the reason. One way
Hmm.
to think about it.
Possibly.
Um, Possibly. So in one of your videos, you do talk about how we within Hinduism we talk about animal behavior and godly behavior, and in comparison talk about human behavior. So and when Hinduism says that humans have to have sex only for the sake of progeny, that's the ideal for humans. They're often comparing, these texts are often comparing humans to animals and to gods too, perhaps. So so given
Not
this,
to gods. Shiva
uh
had sex with Sati for 10,000 years.
true, we can't compare with that at all.
Only
But we have to
animals made
demarcate
for
that.
procreation. Only animals do that.
Uh-huh.
Gods made
But
for fun.
okay. Yes, the ethics there for the gods are very different. But for humans, we are asked to not be like animals and to have sex only in order to produce progeny. So in this context, so in this context, there are some restrictions on how much sex to have, some self-control, and so on. So would you like to respond to this? What do you think of this?
I
This
think
is this
nobody's
just
qualified for sex until they have the first two Purusharthas down, Dharma and
Mhm,
Artha. Then you're qualified
mhm,
for sex. Then you can talk about karma. Because
mhm,
karma itself is a method and it's a technology that when we
mhm,
use our equipment, our um, sexual equipment, we can generate a lot more energy than we can with any other equipment of our body, with any other organ. And
mhm,
that is the basic energy that runs life. It is
mhm,
what is happening in your cells. When cells
mhm.
do cell mitosis, they're using sexual energy.
Okay.
So when we have this energy, that's what we need to be aware of. And energy is a subtle phenomenon. Not
Mhm,
everyone can feel the radiation in their phone,
mhm,
but I can. So you need to have subtle senses. And when you have subtle senses, then you can practice karma. But you have
mhm,
to spend time to develop them. Okay, sex
mhm,
anyone can have, but karma is different, and I don't indulge in sex.
mhm. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting because the Kama Sutra also begins by saying that karma should be pursued within the confines of dharma.
Hmm.
So right, so that whole
Dharma and
translation of
Artha
karma as
also.
sex
Dharma
is.
and Artha has to be locked down.
Mhm,
If you don't have this in control, then you engage in karma, you lose your Artha or you lose your
mm,
Dharma.
true. Wow. Yeah, right. But biologically, adolescence happens when we are in our teens, but by the time we achieve financial stability, we're in our 30s.
Hmm.
So what does one do in the
That is
interim
things
period?
study education.
Mm-hmm.
I became financially independent at 13, around the same
Okay.
time when I got puberty.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a year after I got puberty. I
Mm-hmm.
and boys used to get puberty late then, like 12 or 13. That's when the
Mm-hmm.
voice would crack. I remember when I started selling, my voice hadn't yet cracked. And then
Mm-hmm.
later it cracked.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
nowadays children are having early puberty,
true.
because of the things that
Mm.
chemicals.
Okay, so we need to rethink, getting employed at a certain age after education and so
I
on.
think children are perfectly capable of earning a living when they're 12. We haven't equipped them.
Yeah,
Because I could do it. And not
yeah.
only me, four kids from my class
Mm.
who I employed, they also
Yeah,
became financially independent at the age
true.
of 13. We started
Yeah,
at
yeah.
12 and in
We
1 year we were financially independent. Why are these lessons not there?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we take this whole system of getting educated, then getting a job at a certain age and so on. We take that too
It's
seriously. It doesn't
nobody
have a
saying this is
big
too slow.
yeah, yeah.
They're not. They think it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it creates a big lag from the time that you're ready for the sexual act to the time that you achieve financial, um, you know, um, stability. So then what you do in those interim years is a question that
Takes about a
becomes.
year if you really have the commitment to it. People are not committed, so it'll take a long time.
Yeah.
You're not committed, you start something, you change your mind, you start something, you change your mind. People don't have unwavering intentions. This is all we have to teach a child. Have an unwavering intention. If a child learns that, then nobody can stop them from doing anything. Who will stop me from doing anything? I have unwavering intention. Whatever comes in my way, I'm ready to deal with it. That's the warriorhood, right? We need that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
See, a
So,
bunch of victims are called Pashus. Pashus are the victims, the herbivores. They're called Pashus. You know, the pigs and the cows and the deer and all of them are called Pashus, right? But then there is the carnivore, and from there on, it's not a victim anymore. The carnivore is a hero already. The eagle feels like a hero, looks heroic, looks majestic. That's why warriors have all the insignia of carnivores. Nobody has a insignia of rabbit.
True.
No warrior. Okay. So we need to learn from nature that nature is showing us how to be a warrior, and we can learn that. And then, there's how to be divine also. Nature is showing us divine things. Nature shows you when you live in the forest. This time when I went to the mountains, it was raining, right? The monsoons are going on. I just got back from there. The moment I landed in Chandigarh, clear skies. No problem, no landslides. Then I went to Solan, clear skies. I went to Vashisht, 8 days, clear skies. Then I went to Trilokinath, clear skies. And people are, what's happening? And then when I left there, it started raining there. And when I went to Rishikesh, clear skies for 3 days. The moment I got into my flight, started raining. Okay. So that's unwavering intention. It's something because we only create the world. It's a liquid reality. So every complaint we have for the world, if we have complaint that we need to change something in the world, then we're being a victim. When you say I need to change something in myself, I'm being a hero. So I want people to be heroic. That is what Sanatan Dharma is about, not being a victim.
Yeah, totally agree with you. But women are in a strange position, don't you think? Because we are so confined within our families. Our
Women have
parents have
higher
a strong
tolerance
home.
power of misery than men, maybe 100 times more.
Yeah,
So they tolerate a lot of misery.
but
The moment she becomes committed to not being miserable, she won't be.
my generation of women have broken out, and I myself have had many yuddhas inside my home.
Years ago, I
So,
wrote a book. It was called
mhm,
Kali. It's about self-defense. I will send it to you. That
yes.
book, in the introduction, I was reading it today, and I've said this very clearly. I wish women would use their strength in different directions. It's not that women are not strong. They're using their strength to tolerate the misery in their life. If they use that same strength in to fix things, they would get fixed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Do you also talk to the older generation, the parental generation that is, restricting women in so many ways, or do you only talk to youngsters?
They don't think they have a problem. No, they're not the victims. So people who
Yeah.
come to me are the people who have a problem, but are not victims. They want to learn how to solve the problem. So there are two kinds of people I don't talk to: perpetrators, victims. I don't talk to
Mm,
them. But victims who
yeah.
want to solve their problems, who don't want to be victims anymore, and there's some heroism up in them, I talk to them. So I will never be talking to parents. And I don't have to.
Mm.
They're going to die anyway.
Okay. So that was actually one of my questions because nowadays there is no vanaprastha. Nobody's taking vanaprastha.
I know, right?
Mothers-in-law, everybody is
Huh.
still continuing their life,
Yes.
and what that means is more and more restriction, lifelong restriction for us. And
They had their
and
time, it's over. Now you should go to the forest. But they don't want to go to forest, they're terrified of it. They don't have any skills to survive in the forest.
No, a little bit of detachment, even if they are staying within our own homes, or their own homes, it's fine. But I don't see that, and instead, what I see is an elongation of enjoyment of life and so on, to the point that they will refuse to help young women with babies and so on, which I think is outrageous because this is a cycle that has to go on. Mothers help their daughters, daughters then help their daughters and so on. And if the cycle breaks, then something something
Very
serious
easy
is
to
amiss.
fix. I put up videos called Heal Your Karmas. It is a playlist on my YouTube channel. It's called
Mhm,
Heal Your Karmas. So if you go
mhm.
to my YouTube channel and click on the tabs, there'll be playlists, and in that you'll find Heal Your Karmas. That's all you need. Or you can just YouTube search Heal Your Karmas plus Guru Pashupati. You'll find the playlist.
Yeah, I
And
think I did
there
watch
I've taught
some
people
of
how to
these.
get rid of these problems
Hmm.
for free.
Okay. Mm. Yeah, I did try some of those techniques, especially the one with the Pitranadi and so on, and it was amazing, amazing it was. So I'd request my audience to go check out all those videos that you've made. They're truly amazing.
Somebody wrote to me today from Germany.
Uh-huh.
They said
Oh,
that in Germany, we just sit and talk about our problems, but I saw your playlist and I just fixed all my problems without talking to anyone. So
wow.
they were thanking me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, some of them are truly, truly effective. I just tried a few, but I was just completely amazed by how amazing they are. So, so again, with motherhood too, I thought that the support that we once had is decreasing, and so women are kind of caught in webs of complex webs of not their making. And yeah, so any suggestions for.
Yeah, read the manual, because
Mhm,
when you get a new piece of machinery, let's say you got a mixer grinder,
mhm,
you have to read the manual and see how to use it. Otherwise, you'll chop your fingers off if you do something
mhm.
wrong. And when it's on, you put your hand in to take it out, take stuff
Yeah,
out when it's still on. You're going to cut your fingers off. So
true.
everything has the potential to cut your fingers off, including relationships.
Mhm,
And I have a channel called Life Changing Manifestations. We did a deep dive into relationships and answered all the questions there so that you
mhm.
understand why exactly should we have a relationship.
Right. Mm,
If you don't have clarity about the why we are in a relationship itself, then what can you
mhm.
expect but stress and problems? There is no
Yeah.
clarity. There's no leadership within families. Nobody
Mhm,
is taking the responsibility to educate the younger generation.
mhm.
So obviously they will have problems. They have a knowledge problem. There's a
Yeah,
knowledge problem. It's not a social problem.
true.
When the knowledge is there, then people can know what to do with it. But who
Mm,
has to say, you have to seek knowledge. Knowledge doesn't seek you. So when they're
yeah,
hungry, they'll find it. I put out all the knowledge already about why you should have a relationship in the first place. Till
true.
today, I didn't find a single good reason for it. So I'm not in a relationship. No mother-in-law.
Mm, yeah, we're born into relationships, so we can question them only after
You
a
can
certain
divorce
point of time.
anyone, not just your wife and husband. You can divorce anyone.
Yeah, that's good advice. I've always said that we should, if only we could divorce our parents.
You can, totally can. I've divorced everybody who's not useful in my life.
Yeah. Okay. So the issue of marital rape, I just want you to quickly respond. Obviously, it's not something that we want to ever accept, right? It's crazy to even suggest, to even say that this is closed, that we don't want to have a conversation about it, to be in denial about it. So
The truth is that both men and women get maritally raped. And I would say
that's a
that
very
I would say it's happened to
dim
me
view.
as well.
Mhm.
Rape is just making someone have sex forcibly when they do not consent to it. That's really what the definition of rape is, right? And so that forcible thing is happening in marriages. People don't know they're not sexually attracted to each other, and they're just having sex. So a lot of women lose interest because they're not sexually compatible in any way because they don't know anything about karma, how it takes to make you like, how much it takes, how much of wellness it takes to make you feel
Mhm.
sexy and to feel aroused. Okay.
Right.
You need a lot of
Mhm.
wellness. It cannot happen during stress. So whatever happens during stress is rape only because one of them is not into it, you know and then
True.
it happens. So men can have erections even if they're not completely aroused. They'll have a soft erection and then they're forced to have sex with that, you know.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah.
So the reason it's happening is because it's again a knowledge problem. People are not clear why the hell they're in that marriage.
Mhm.
They don't not clear about it. So then we are looking at only rape as a problem. What about the bigger problem that they don't know what they're doing together? If that problem got solved, then this problem wouldn't exist. If there are two people who are really sexually attracted to each other and really committed to having sex every day, then, there wouldn't be any problem. But
Right.
the commitment to have sex every day is not there in marriages. And the reason is because nobody has the wellness to have sex because they haven't sorted their finances and they haven't sorted their purpose in life. So they're not feeling horny.
Mm.
So then all
Yeah.
these unnatural things will keep happening because the
True.
sexual energy comes according to hormones and then people do all sorts of weird things.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's a string of problems, not just one thing. And but what you say about stress is very interesting for me because women are often made to work inside the house and outside the house as well, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And we don't know how that's started to sound like tradition, but it's not tradition. It's not Sanatana Dharma. It's not Hinduism. It's not anything that a person has to, do work
I mean, there
both
are clear
inside and
rules
outside.
in tribes, when I was brought up in a tribe, so there were clear rules about what
Mm-hmm.
everybody had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other tribe members would step in to help,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we don't have today. People are living in an apartment with 1,000 people, but they don't know each other.
True.
So that's how we live now. We don't have tribes anymore. So when you don't have tribes anymore, a relationship is sustained by a whole tribe. There's a
Mm-hmm.
story in I think Hitopadesha or Jataka tales about the female bird, hawk or something, osprey or hawk or something, is courted by a male bird, and finally they decided to nest together. But she said, "I will not nest with you." He says, "Why?" Because you don't have any friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has to go and make friends. So he went and made friends with an elephant and a rat. And then one day the female bird got caught in the net of a hunter. The
Mm-hmm.
rat came and opened her out, and then the hunter came to attack the rat itself when the rat was chewing on it. And then the elephant came and scared away the hunter. So then the rat could chew through, and then he realized, how much it takes for me to have this relationship. It's not me alone.
Yeah.
We have all these stories. But we have to understand we are getting into relationships totally unprepared and saying that we both will face the world. No, it cannot happen. You need a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships can only exist within tribe members. It,
Yeah.
it cannot exist otherwise. People don't know
Yeah.
this basic stuff.
True. That was my own understanding as well. So at some point, arranged marriages didn't feel like such an evil thing because there would be a support system around us in one way or another.
Yeah.
Whereas those who fall in love are often completely isolated unless they
That's
have a
how
good
tribes have
friendship.
organized themselves for centuries. And if we keep rejecting that and then we make nuclear families, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then the tribes have
So.
fallen apart because there are no gurus. The
Mhm.
eldest person in the tribe has to be the guru for everyone, whether it's a man or
True.
a woman. My
Mm.
grandmother was the guru for my tribe.
Mhm.
So we used to listen to her, and she would
Mhm.
she would settle all conflicts, and she taught us how to love each other.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have that. Sure. Yeah. So the other thing is, I love your work on street harassment and eve teasing and so on. And this was way, way early. It's not now. It was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And how amazing is that? Because I would have been really happy to meet you 20 years ago, and take training to escape this kind of street harassment because that was a reality when I was in India. It was a
Yeah.
non-stop, everyday
No, it's
reality.
changed thanks to our efforts. It's improved a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most Hindus again are in denial about this. They don't want to talk about it, and they think that it's happening somewhere else, and so on. And so we're not asking for it. We're not asking for this attention at all, and we're also tired of being asked what we are doing in order to attract this, and so on. So your work. Do you have a book that you can share?
Yeah, yeah. I have a book. It
Yeah,
used to be
yeah.
on Kindle, but not anymore. I'll republish
Uh-huh.
it soon. And
Okay.
it used to
Sh-
be edited for 2024.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
I would love to read that book.
I mean, the basics
And
never changed, but some things have changed. The way that
mhm,
harassment happens has changed. It's become more
yeah,
subtle.
yeah. So we're I think moving from a duties discourse to a rights discourse. And that's the shift that's slowly happening, I think. I was wondering what you think about
I'm
that.
sorry, what's
And
the shift? It's
the
very
shift
noisy there.
from a duties discourse to a
Ah,
rights
the
discourse.
rights discourse. Okay. Ah,
Yeah, in the
fine.
sense that you had to listen to your parents because you already owed them. There were these renas that you had to pay off. You were indebted to them for the things that they had done to you, and so
Mhm.
on. But slowly we're shifting to a rights discourse as well, and we're living also in confusing times, isn't it?
My
So
guru said that justice is the privilege of the powerful.
mm,
Reflect on it. It's true. That's the only discourse we need to have regarding rights. Do you have the power to back up those rights? If you don't, you really don't have those rights. Somebody else is going to give them to you. So they'll be
mm,
taken away anyway.
mm. All right. But then what's your suggestion for women who have suffered variously and not treated
Obviously,
right and so on?
obviously they don't have rights because right now, because they're not powerful.
Mm,
Justice is the privilege of the powerful. The day we
mm,
understand this, we'll be at peace. We'll decide to be powerful. We'll not wait for someone else to empower us.
yeah. 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 I had another question. Sometimes when mothers-in-law treat their daughters-in-law very badly, um, I'm wondering what is happening at an energy level. In the Western discourse, the idea is that we are dehumanizing the other person when we abuse them or when we oppress them. But I'm not sure how you look at
We
it.
see it as runanubandha, an
Mhm,
unpaid debt from a previous life, an unpaid debt of anger. Somebody
mhm,
has been angry with you from a previous life and you felt guilty for what you did. And now you
mhm,
see that energy is back, where the victim tolerates it only because they feel a sense of guilt somewhere inside, that they can't
uh-huh,
leave the situation. And,
mhm,
if they didn't feel any sense of guilt, they would walk out of the situation, but they've been feeling that. And the
mhm,
perpetrator feels a consistent sense of anger. Even they don't know why they're doing it. They're not having any fun either. Nobody's having fun. Either the victim or the perpetrator, both are not having fun. So it's called Runanubandha. And it's a very
mhm,
simple kriya. You can search for it, Runanubandha plus Guru
mhm.
Pashupati. Find it on YouTube. Just
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
this kriya with commitment. And if you do it
Mhm.
every day, you'll be free of the suffering, finished
True. Um,
energetically.
Yeah. So then what is the God's eye view of these things? Does he think about the suffering of women at all? Or does he? And so, for instance, in some Tantra texts, there is this interesting idea that if you beat your wife and if she happens to die, she'll become a Pishachi and she'll come back to haunt you
Hmm.
and so on, which just sounds a little bit like social justice.
Sounds like some
But
sideward empowerment, which is not really empowerment.
Hmm. But really it's not because she's also stuck.
Hmm.
So there's really I'm
He
wondering
beats
because
her, she becomes a pishach. What's the justice in that?
at least she haunts him.
And she haunts him. Oh, she haunts him. But it's a waste of her time, no?
True.
She could have become a beautiful queen somewhere instead.
Yeah, she could have taken rebirth, yes. But such is the nature of trauma that it doesn't leave us. And what do we do? I mean, I know that you will prescribe me some yogic technique, but I'm also looking forward to a rearrangement of the social world in
Look,
some way
I'm
so
not
that
in for the justice. I've already told you justice is the privilege of the powerful. So I'm not in for that, right? If you want to
mm,
learn how to be powerful, the link is in my Instagram bio. Okay.
mm,
But those who take action will get power. Those who learn under a powerful guru will become powerful. There's no doubt about it. So that's really the solution. But the thing is that when we when we talk about these things,
mm,
we're talking like victims is what we should realize. We're talking like we need to empower someone. We are dehumanizing people to say that they are not capable of fixing their own problems. But we don't
true.
see this as dehumanization. We see
Mm,
this as some kind of heroic, but everyone's got a savior complex.
mm,
Okay.
true.
I
Yeah.
think that we need to really take a step back and think like if a boy born in a slum like me and didn't
Uh-huh.
get educated can do great things, why can't everyone?
Yeah.
What is the secret of empowerment that I had that you don't have? Be curious and ask questions and find out. But instead of that, we get into this big debate of how governments and
Mhm.
all these policymakers should now step in and empower us.
Yeah, that's how the discourse has been, at least, in helping
I'm telling
women
you
achieve
that the
more.
fence eats the crop.
Mhm.
Absolute power corrupts. You shouldn't
Mhm.
give power to others. You should keep it with yourself.
Mhm.
Power needs to be distributed among all the human beings that you're interacting with. When two powerful people meet, they do not exploit each other.
Mhm.
Why are we not thinking about making everyone powerful? We're just talking about, again, concentrating power in a government that we trust with crossed fingers to take care of us. They
Mhm.
don't. They can't.
True.
Because they have to cater to you and your opposite interest, who are both the citizens. And they
Mhm.
will cater to the one that is more powerful, always.
Yeah, true. All right. So, so in one of his compositions, Purandaradasa says that God is a Kapata Nataka Sutradhari, and that he kind of enjoys the puppet show that's going on, and so on.
Right?
And
That's right.
there's a similar thing that Draupadi says in Mahabharata. She says that she asks Yudhishthira, "How are you not sure that all of this is his plan?" And he's laughing right now, looking at looking at her blind. And then Yudhishthira goes off into some other terrain. He gives her an answer that one must follow dharma for its own sake, and so on and so forth. That's not an adequate answer, really. But I want to know what is the God up there thinking when women are suffering so continuously and
Have you
for
heard
so
the
many
word
generations.
Leela? Leela.
Oh,
It
that's
means
such a
play.
sad answer. I thought you would give me something more like proper
You're
answer.
also
And
Leela. You have come to me in a very stubborn way today. That's also Leela. Okay. So whatever it is that. So it helps me to deal with it. I
yeah,
can
Leela
deal
is
with
an
your
answer
rejection
that
easily.
true, but Leela, Karma, these are all also answers
I
that
said a word, Leela. You don't know what is it. You thought moksha was something else, and then you thought vairagya
I've
was
listened to
something
your
else.
video.
When I use the word Leela, you jump on me.
No, no, I'm
I
not
don't
jumping.
appreciate it.
Oh, sorry.
I
I
don't
didn't mean
appreciate
it
you
too
not even
bad.
letting me finish my sentence.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You and your
Tell me all
biases
about
are going
you.
to run this podcast, or you're going to listen to me also.
No. Absolutely, I'm here to listen to you.
Hmm.
But just recording the response that one feels, when one hears this argument.
Who is this one? It's you, not me.
Yeah, it is me. Yes.
Yes. Then say I, don't say one.
Most people, when they hear Leela, they will
No,
say
don't speak for
that
most
leaves
people.
me
Speak for
back at
yourself. I
square
have a lot
one.
of students. You go and tell them Leela, their eyes will light up and they'll be happy. Okay?
All right, go ahead. Please explain.
Hmm. Okay, see, this much indiscipline, if you have in your mind, we can't have a mature conversation like you said is going to be. Okay? So now a Leela is a play, okay, which means that it's a game. If you look at it as a game, then what happens is there are levels. You keep failing the first level. Have you played Angry Birds? Then you pass the first level, you get a hit of dopamine, a reward. And then you go to the next level, and then you have to play, and it's going to be harder. And then the next level, and there are infinite levels. So that's how it is. So I believe that God has designed this in her wisdom so that we can enjoy it. Lalita is the one who's supposed to be making all this Leela. That's what it is. But if you don't even, you're not even in the game, you're like, this game sucks. It's just sour grapes. Okay. So if it's going to be sour grapes, you'll not learn. I will continue with my lovely Leela life and you will continue to balk at it. So that's what it is. You want to stop balking because balking also releases serotonin in the brain.
Mhm.
So you're getting a kind of sideways rewards. Then what will happen? Your brain will evaluate the next rejection that you face, you will crash when you release serotonin just like that. I learned yoga for 20 years. I worked with women for 20 years. And then I learned with Mahatar Babaji. And then if you say that, he's not as good as me by saying Leela, then you release serotonin in your brain. You understand?
Mhm.
So when you do that, there's something called a serotonin reuptake. That's a crash which comes later. And then again, you feel distorted and distressed. So try to avoid that. Don't get into those things. Get legal serotonin for actually being better than someone. And then it's, be better than yourself. No, never compare to someone else.
All
That's what you
right.
should do.
So one of my last questions would just be this. Do you identify as a feminist, and how do you relate to the term feminism? Did you ever use it? Um,
I think
just
it's a
your
loaded
thoughts on.
term. It's a loaded
Mhm.
term. It's with a lot of confusions about what it really means. But if you're asking whether I believe that women have an equal right to enjoy this world, I think they do. So you can call it what you want.
Right. Right. Yeah. So the term is not important, but the idea of equality,
Yeah, finally the actions
obviously.
are important, right? People have called me a feminist. They're like, this guy is a male feminist. He's out here to emasculate men. I've got all this
Yeah.
comments on my videos.
Hmm.
I don't care.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Oh, sorry. I looks like I have no. I'm right at the end of my set of questions, Guru Pashupati. Thank you so much for being here
You're
and
welcome.
answering all my questions. Some of the questions I've asked you today come from the scholarly disciplines that we pursue, social sciences and humanities and so on. And you have responded to these questions in a certain way, in a tangential way, and that's very interesting. That's very interesting because then it's a challenge for these disciplines to
Yeah,
rethink the
it's a
way they
shift
are
in frame,
formulating.
We have to
Hmm?
shift frame. We have to shift the
Yes,
frame out of
yes,
victimhood.
we have
I'm
to.
really up for that.
Yeah, yeah, we have to reframe the problem itself, and then the solution will also appear very differently. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.